Have you ever been completely engulfed in some form of entertainment? To be willingly whisked away to a different world, so focused and interested in how the story unfolds? You probably have. Stuff like movies, shows, books. One trade-off of these types of media is that you have no impact on it. Its story is already written. Every moment, decision, and outcome already solidified. Sometimes that's a good thing. You don't want to participate, just spectate. But sometimes, you might find yourself wishing you could experience it, or your own version. That's where video games shine from the rest. They're guided experiences that let you live the story within the confines that they decide. Sure, most of the time, the major beats are set in stone, but you have input. You can change the details of how you get there, and create stories and memories between the larger story. Sandbox games take this even further. You choose your own adventure. You're free to experience the game in your own way. You jump in, maybe get told the general direction to head in, and then you're off. From there, how much you do is up to you. I can fondly recall multiple moments from my childhood where games like that gave me a lot of happiness, let me explore my creativity, and get lost in the adventure of it all. That was a lot, wasn't it? Hello, my name's Alex, and I'm a game designer. I recently graduated with a degree as such, and I've been working as a Unity game developer for 6 months. The kid that fell in love with the games that led him adventure ended up starting to make and study games 6 years ago, and it's been a blast. The reason I went into all that at the start is because I'm trying to learn. I want to understand through trial, error, and practice what goes into making a sandbox experience. To do this, I've chosen to embark on this journey, and I'll be sharing it here on my channel. Let's take the first step. Admittedly, I could write a gigantic list of cool game design and development feats I'd love to sink my teeth and time into, but before you can run or even walk, you have to painfully crawl. The goal of this journey is to learn more about procedural generation. Now, you've probably heard this discussed a few times before.
Today we are talking about 2D landscape generation.
Procedural Generation, also known as PCG.
Hi everyone, welcome to the series on procedural landmass generation.
Pros and cons of using a procedural generation system in your game.
Welcome to procedural map generation.
Alright, a lot of times. Specifically, I'm trying to create a 2D, grid-based, procedurally generated underground world. That's a lot of words. I'm not interested in turning this into a game, yet. For now, I just want to focus on learning some techniques and getting a better understanding of the design process for this specific play space. I'll be using Unity since that's the only game engine I know. I'll be sharing my progress here on this channel in the form of episodes periodically, so if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, please consider subscribing. It couldn't hurt to give me a shot. Oh no, am I a YouTuber now? I've put a lot of time into Terraria, Minecraft. I grew up on these games. I'm sure a lot of people did. These games were revolutionary to the sandbox genre, and are still highly regarded and played to this day. If you want a visual idea of what I'm trying to emulate even a fraction of, it's Terraria. If you somehow haven't heard of it, seriously check it out after this video. Terraria's Underground is the best 2D resource spelunking I've ever experienced. I could go into great detail about plenty of aspects, which I'm sure I will at some point, but to keep it brief, the world feels vast. There are so many intrigues pulling you in deeper, sprawling caves, varied biomes, the chance of great treasure, and whatever other secrets you may discover in your adventure into the deep. It's what I'd consider the gold standard for the underground experience I'm interested in pursuing. Just to be clear, I am not trying to remake Terraria. I couldn't even if I wanted to. But from a design perspective, Terraria provides an experience I want to understand more and recreate aspects of. You can certainly consider it a great inspiration and point of reference on this journey. Speaking of, there's plenty of things I want to know, so let's get into it. First, let's cover some basics. What is procedural generation? I want to preface this next part. I'm not an expert, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm figuring it out as I go. The info I'm about to tell you is just what I understood, not a definitive truth. Anyways, I'm going to flash the definition of procedural generation on the screen now. Pause the video if you want to read it in full. Here's what I understand from this. You define a set of rules for your system to function off of, and your system does something with that. For example, placing trees in a forest. A rule could be that no tree can be placed directly next to each other. Then, when you run your algorithm, it will place a tree wherever it can that satisfies that rule. Just like that, you've got a very neat forest. Here's a more practical example we can look at. A game I helped make for a game jam back in 2019. Honestly, I think my team all walked away from this disappointed with our results, but it's a game jam. It'd be like that sometimes. First time playing this since we made it, like 3 years ago? Oh no. What did we do? My neck's broken, very limited control. I feel like I'm fighting with the controls. The most challenging part of this game is the controls, not the actual course. Definitely not my best work. Oh man. Alright, in case you didn't notice, the course is absolutely awful. This was one of my first cracks at Procedural Generation, a platformer course. It worked by placing a platform, choosing a random direction, and going a random distance along that direction and placing another platform. Rinse and repeat until I tell it to stop. Clearly something went wrong at a certain point, but hey, it kinda looks cool. The course itself is really boring, but at least I didn't have to make it myself.
Oh, I get it. Don't be hasty.
This is the basic idea. Your algorithm follows specific rules to create something. Now onto procedural game terrain. To understand, I like to think of it as a painting. At each step or stroke of the brush, you're adding another layer or detail or change to the painting. It might not look like much after the first stroke, but after a few or even thousands more, it can really transform. Each stroke of the brush is like a rule. You're applying these rules to the game world and modifying it in the process. There are a lot of games that incorporate procedurally generated sandbox play spaces, such as Minecraft, Terraria, Deep Rock Galactic, Noida, and many more. There's plenty of resources available online for this type of content, so if you're interested, you'll find what you're looking for. Personally, this talk by Herbert Wolverson on procedural map generation techniques really helped me fill in the gaps of my understanding and get an idea of what algorithms exist out there already. In the next video, we'll actually get into creating some terrain and making some caves. Nothing fancy or even super useful for now, but enough to get started. You'll get to see the theory discussed today applied and how that looks in my implementation in Unity. If you like this video, please consider leaving a like, commenting, and subscribing. Thanks for watching, see you on the next step. You can that's where video game